Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Rochel Lawson, the Queen of Feeling Fabulous. And you are tuning in to the Blissful Living podcast, where we talk about wellness, wisdom, and wealth. And so, I like to say if you like the show, please subscribe to the show and share it with everyone you know. And I also like to take this moment to have you take some time for yourself. So, find a place to sit. Grab something to write with, your favorite pen, pencil, piece of paper, get your favorite beverage, and tell your family just to give you a few moments so that you can absorb this information that the guest is going to share with you today. And while you're doing that, let me take care of business. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Blissful Living for You at Blissful Living, the number 4, the letter U.com. They have a virtual summit coming up. It's happening in June, so stay tuned for that. But the virtual summit is called The Unstoppable Path to Wellness. Elevate your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual vitality. And so you can go to Blissful Living for You and get more information, as well as an abundance of information on how you can elevate your wellness, wisdom, and wealth. And you can check them out at www.blissfulliving, the number 4, the letter U.com. Now, the next sponsor I'd like to thank is All Day Cable Incorporated. All Day Cable is a telecommunications installation company located in the Harley, Silicon Valley. They've been in business since 1990, and they specialize in installing voice, data, and fiber optic cabling for large, medium, and small companies. And their model is they make the right connection the first time so that when you go to connect with your customer on the other end, your telecommunications is operating effectively and efficiently, and you can make that connection with that customer on the other end right the first time. Now, if you're in need of a telecom installation company, you can check them out at All Day Cable Inc.com. So now you've probably had some time to get yourself together, got a little place to sit, your paper, favorite beverage, told the family to chill for a minute. Let me tell you about our guest today. Her name is Susie Kundrat, and Susie has a company called Eat, Move, and Grow. And she's a registered dietitian, a wellness expert who is a lifelong well-being enthusiast, award-winning college professor, and an enthusiastic advocate for inclusive health and wellness. A sought-after speaker, Susie uses her simple health empowerment approach with consumers, clients, students, athletes, groups, and corporations to boost health and well-being. She is the author of Eat, Move, and Groove, Unlock the Simple Steps to Lifelong Nutrition, Fitness, and Wellness. So I want to just welcome Susie to the show. And today we're going to be talking about finding joy at every age. Eat, move, and groove. So Susie, welcome to the Blissful Living podcast. How are you?
I am good. Thank you, Rochelle. I really appreciate your introduction and being here with you today. And I think we have a lot of synergies with the way we approach life in following you and seeing the things that you do. And I so appreciate how you add vitality and energy and opportunity for well-being for people. So thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, I want to jump into this phenomenal conversation. And I want to ask you, what is the 2-minute miracle and how can all of us use it to achieve lasting wellness and happiness?
Well, that's a wonderful question to start with because I have used the 2-minute miracle for the bulk of my career. I spent a lot of time as a registered dietitian and sports dietitian working with athletes, working with groups. And no matter if I was working with a professional athlete or working with a high school athlete, the idea of the 2-minute miracle is to step back every evening before you get ready for your next day and just take 2 minutes to prep yourself to be the best you can be. And in those 2 minutes, I believe there's 3 components that we can think about: eating, moving, and grooving. And when I talk about grooving, I'm talking about, of course, it could be dancing, but anything that supports our personal well-being. So, for example, if you take a couple minutes the night before, tonight, let's say, and you put out some fruit on the table and you go through your fridge and you figure out what high quality protein sources you have that you could get into meals, and you think about what you're going to do for your movement or exercise or fitness tomorrow, you throw your shoes out, you get yourself ready. We know that just taking a couple minutes to prepare yourself for well-being for the next day can really, really make a difference, because you're preparing, you're setting your mindset to take care of yourself, and you're thinking about what you're going to do a little bit ahead of time. And so what happens is your nutrition, your fitness, your well-being becomes your priority in a very simple and easy way. And that's really what I'm about. Simple, positive well-being. Let's not complicate things too much. Let's be good to ourselves, but also let's find a bit of a structure that is going to help us every day maximize our well-being. So that's what it's about.
Oh, I love that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I want to dive more into that and how people can actually think about what they want to accomplish in that 2 minutes that sets them up for the next day. So stay tuned. We'll be right back to the Blissful Living podcast in just a few moments. Okay, this is Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, the Queen of Fabulous, and we are back with Susie Kundrat, and we're talking about Eat, Move, and Groove. And now, before we took the break, she mentioned, gave us insight into the 2 minute prep that we should be doing to make sure that we step into the next day prepared and not so much behind. Now, Susie, with regards to this, we can utilize that 2 minutes to create not only lasting well-being, but happiness. Is there any complex things that we need to do? Do we need to eliminate, excuses as to why we can't do it? Or, just basically, how do we set ourselves up so that that 2 minutes at the end of our day does not become something we dread doing because of 97,000 excuses we can give ourselves?
Well, do it in any way that works for you is what I would say. That 2 minute miracle is a gift to you. It's not a chore. It's not necessarily a task. It's a way to kind of think about, oh, how did today go and what's coming tomorrow? And so really it's a gift. And for some people, they may feel better if they have a little notepad and they're jotting down, oh, here's a couple things I want to do to prioritize my well-being tomorrow. For others, it might be while they're, sitting watching their favorite show, they're just thinking, okay, what can I do to prep? And I think of it as a gift. I think of it as a way to say, I'm the one who needs to prioritize me and my well-being. We all need to do that in a way, but sometimes there becomes so many roadblocks and so many challenges. And also what I hear from whether I'm working in a corporate setting, presenting a keynote speech, or whether I'm working with a small group of seniors, let's say, there is a lot of confusion around nutrition and fitness and wellness. And what happens, that confusion really begins to kind of maximize and get bigger and bigger, and people start feeling like there's nothing they can do, or perhaps things get too confusing for them. And so what I say is, there are simple, easy things we can do. Moving more, for example. It doesn't matter what you like to do. I happen to love to dance, but I like to kayak. And this morning I took my bike over to a park and I walked up and down a big hill, not that big where I live in Illinois, but big enough. I mean, bigger so it's not just straight walking. And, that was really fun for me. So did that take I didn't have to go far. I didn't have to necessarily take a lot of time. But for me, that was a simple way to take care of my own fitness and my own wellness, but everyone's different. And so one of the things I would also say to people is do a little bit of a self-assessment. What do you like to eat? When do you like to eat? How do you like to eat? Do you like to cook or not? And on my website on eatmovegroove.com, you can pull down some resources from the book area and do some of those self-assessments. You can think about, what kind of fruits and vegetables do I have around and what might I get at the store? All these little prompts help us and give us just a little bit of extra support and perhaps a little extra nudge. And there are so many things we know to be true around well-being that I encourage people to kind of get rid of all the things that confuse them, and let's keep it simple, which is really my impetus after working for 35, 40 years in nutrition and fitness and wellness to write the book Eat, Move, Groove, because people were asking me how to simplify it.
So let me ask you this. What are some of the things that people do to make this simplified process complex?
Well, I think one thing people do is we have so much information at our fingertips, and I do the same thing. I'm always interested in new studies and new things that come out. And what happens with that is you can always find things that contradict each other. So you can find drink 2 cups of coffee a day, and that might lower your risk of disease. You can find caffeine is not good for you. Don't drink coffee. So you can find all these things. And so, first of all, I think it's really important to work with experts who really know the fields, and work with people in nutrition, for example, who are dietitians, who have advanced degrees in nutrition or health and well-being, and really understand the science. I like to call it from science to simple. In other words, let's take the research, it's so important, but then what does it really mean in our daily life? And so, there are some truths that we know to be true around eating ample produce, for example. And that's how I developed my plan around the idea of a 22-11, which we can talk about. It's simple. It's easy to do. I really believe, particularly as we get into our 30s and 40s and beyond, we know that we lose lean muscle mass, for example. And so eating to maintain that. So there are some basic things that are not that difficult really to put into practice. They are tried and true truths that we do know. And I believe if we focus on the things we absolutely know to be beneficial, that can kind of move out a lot of that confusion.
Yeah, there's so much information out there. And I think sometimes people go looking to incorporate something that's going to be actually beneficial to their health and well-being. Become so inundated with all this information, and they all can lead you to all kind of different paths depending on what you're looking at that moment in time. And then, those pop-ups that come up as you do the research. And so I like what you said. Now, not often does anyone actually, get a recommendation from their physician to see a registered dietitian. I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I think if that could be incorporated into when a person goes to visit their primary care provider, and they're in the zone of where they need to be watching things, if the physician would take it a step further and had actual registered dietitians that they could refer them to help them with getting their diet in check and correcting some of those imbalances or things that are out of whack, so to speak, that would be great. They don't have that. And I think the only time, from what I can recollect, that someone might have any contact with a registered dietitian might be when they're in the hospital, and the dietitian might come around and visit them with regards to meals and things of that nature. But we'll be right back, you all. We're going to talk more about this, and hopefully you will extrapolate so much information that is going to help you to be able to eat, move, and groove even more fabulous. We'll be right back to the Blissful Living Podcast in just a few moments. Okay, this is the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, and I'm talking with Susie Kundrat, and we're talking about eating, moving, and grooving. But before we take this last break, I was thinking about how it would be so helpful if the physicians, the primary care providers, were able to refer their patients to registered dietitians. And so I know that it sounds far-fetched and all of that, but sometimes we just don't know what to do when it comes to our diet. And so I want to ask you this, Susie. Are there any misconceptions that you've come across when you're working with people that prevents them from embracing a healthier lifestyle?
Well, certainly I think there are challenges, but I will say just to, to comment on your thought about referrals. One of the things we're finding is because nutrition has become so much more in the mainstream as far as being a therapeutic way to take care of or help or assist with medical concerns. I'm hopeful, and I'm seeing more physicians, more PAs, nurse practitioners, particularly as we get more practitioners besides just physicians, more referrals out through eatright.org, which is our national academy. And that is really important. And I also encourage a lot of people I work with and patients and clients to advocate for that, because sometimes it can take the stress off to actually have a consult, figure out what you can eat depending upon your your particular needs. And I think that's just really important. So I'm glad you brought that up. So if you're in a quandary about what to eat, look for registered dietitians online, but also ask for a referral. I think that's really important.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. But if you look at like misconceptions,
Yes.
if we go down that way, I think because there are so many diets out there that are being marketed that seem so exciting, people might say, well, yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm going to cut out all fruits, all vegetables. I'm just going to eat meat, for example, which is one of the hot things right now. Well, of course, meat can be really great to eat, but probably not just on its own. And
Right.
so I think when we step back and say, wow, if any particular diet or plan just totally cuts out food groups, doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, I will say that we're all different. And so the approach to eating might work one way for one person where they feel like, wow, I really feel better on a vegetarian based plan, or I feel better when I eat certain grains and not certain grains. I think it's important for people to try some of that just to see, well, what works for them. But these things that we do know to be true, again, I mentioned produce, and in my plan, I start with a 22, the first two being at least 2 handfuls or 2 cups or 2 pickleballs of produce, because absolutely getting more produce in our diet, whether it's fruits or veggies, is beneficial. We know that from a lot of studies, a lot of research. We also know that having protein at meals is so important. So that's the other 2, at least 2 ounces of protein at a meal. So I just say start with the 22, produce and protein. Choose ones you like. Choose ones that work well for you and feel good on your gut, things that you enjoy. And then add an 11. That's a whole grain or starch and a healthy fat. And that's it. That's as simple as my plan is for Eat, Move, Groove, which again, then takes away a lot of stress for people. If they say, wow, I can do that at a meal. I also believe strongly that from a nutrition standpoint, we all think about every meal is new. Every meal is fresh. Whatever I ate yesterday or the day before or for the last month, don't worry about it. Let's just say, let's get ready and prepare for the next meal. Same thing for the movement. What am I going to do today? And what am I going to do tomorrow? Don't worry if you haven't been exercising. Don't worry if, you used to be an athlete and now it's hard to put one foot in front of the other. That's okay. Start where you are and think about the things that you like to do. And I think it's the same way for the groove. What are the things that make you feel good inside? Is that listening to your favorite music? Is that being outside? Is that taking time to breathe and being aware of your breath? There are so many things that support our well-being that I am a firm believer that it takes not just the nutrition or the movement, but also that groove together that really helps us to maintain a healthy lifestyle in a way that is not stressful. does not take a lot of time, does not take a lot of effort. And again, keep it simple.
I love it. I love the keep it simple. I love the 2-2-11. I think those are things simple to remember, and you're making sure you're getting the highest quality of what is healthy to eat when you follow that model, just based on what you said. And it's simple to remember. I mean, if you go out to dinner with friends, 2-2-11. If you go to lunch with a girlfriend, 2-2-11.
That's right.
2-2-11. You know what I mean? It's really simple, and I think simple is easy to incorporate even when we're trying to change what we ingest into our bodies. So
Right.
I'd love, love, love that. Okay, we're going to take another quick commercial break, you guys, but we'll be back with Susie Kundrat, and I'm going to ask her more about how we can incorporate eat, move, and groove into our everyday lifestyle. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we are back to the Blissful Living Podcast. It's the Queen of Feeling Fabulous, Dr. Rochel Marie Lawson, and I'm talking with Susie Kundrat. And so now I kind of want to move into gratitude. And can you share with us 4 gratitude breaks that we can all start doing today?
Today, yes, yes. I am thinking of my dear friend and colleague, Mindy Meering, whom I interviewed for my book, and who's a gratitude guru, I would say, out in Colorado. And she really has some ideas for some simple things that really don't take a lot of time, but remind us to be grateful. Well, first of all, gratitude and being grateful for even the smallest things really nurtures our heart. So it's so important to be aware of that. So one thing I really like to do when I'm presenting is help people take a second and just use the 5-finger method for gratitude. What you do, and you could do this at the beginning of the day, you could do it for a break, or I like to do it at night before I go to bed. And I just think of 5 things I'm grateful for in that day. And then I put my hand on my heart and I feel my heart and remind myself how gratitude does nurture my own heart. And it might be simple things like the grass is so green. I'm looking out at this beautiful green grass in our backyard, or I can breathe this air, or a friend came over, whatever it is. So that's one thing I think is really helpful to do. Another thing is to keep a gratitude journal. And people may have heard about that. Keep a journal, however it's easy for you to do it. Maybe you write 1 or 2 things down each day that you're grateful for, or you put those on your phone and you jot those down. Just that simple reminder of stepping back in gratitude, again, is really good for us and helps us recenter for the next day. Another thing I really like to do, number 3, would be aware of how you are connecting with the earth. When you're outside, remind yourself, feel the grass, feel the trees, take in how nature smells to you, listen to the birds. And by doing that, that reminds us, again, we are all together. We're all part of this. Part of this life, part of this world, and being grateful for that is really helpful too. And one of the things I did when I turned 50 was I took some time to make a long, long list of going through different parts of my life, from my childhood to high school, college, and beyond, and who were some of the people who had the greatest impact on me. Because, of course, all the things we get to do in this world are not just because of us. It's because of all the people who have supported us and helped us along the way. And that was a wonderful thing to do. And I then thought about each person and how they'd had an impact in my life. And of course, we get very stressed and life can be very difficult. And it's kind of hard to do that at times. So I think when you have a milestone coming up, I have another one coming up very shortly, take time to do that and to think about the people who have been in your life and helped you get where you are. I'm personally
absolutely love that. I mean,
Mhm.
absolutely love it. You gave us four, wonderful ways that we can incorporate gratitude into our life. I love the gratitude journal. My daughter got me one of those a while back, and I would take every Sunday morning and write on the page,
Mhm.
date it, and write it what I was grateful for the that happened the week before, the previous week. And
Yes.
it took me about 5 years to finish that, and then she got me another one. But it really does help you to take a look at some of the simple things that we can be grateful for that make a huge difference in our life. Unfortunately, we are at our time, Susie. It's been a pleasure to have you on the Blissful Living podcast. You can find out more about Susie in our show notes that will be with all the information on this show. I want to thank our sponsors, the Blissful Living, I'm sorry, our sponsors for the Blissful Living show, Blissful Living for You at Blissful Living, the number 4, the letter U.com, as well as that wonderful telecommunications installation company in Silicon Valley, alldaycableInc.com. And until next time, as I say, share the show, subscribe so you get advanced notification. But until next time, I'm wishing you all peace to your mind, wellness to your body, and tranquility to your spirit. May you be healthy, wealthy, and wise so that you can eat, groove, and move just a little bit more. Until
Yes.
next time, goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.